Okay, let's look at photosynthesis. All right, we'll be looking at photosynthetic pigments and photosystems, but firstly, the photosynthetic pigments. Okay, so the pigments, right, there are two main types. We have the chlorophylls and the carotenoids. Of the chlorophylls, right, there are two types also, chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. There are actually many different types of carotenoids, but we are not going to list them and look at them individually. So we're just going to look at carotenoids as a whole. That's why no more separation of different types of carotenoids. Okay, so all these photosynthetic pigments, right, are found in the chloroplast, right, embedded at the thylakoid membranes. Right, so you see the red color words, right? They are the answers to the blanks we have in the notes. Yeah. So again, right, all these photosynthetic pigments are found embedded in the thylakoid membranes, and they function to absorb light, and from the light, right, they will capture the light energy and use the light energy to drive the light dependent reactions, which will then convert the light energy into chemical energy. You'll learn more about the light dependent reactions in subsequent SLS lesson. Right, so before we look at the individual photosynthetic pigments, we'll look at light first. So light is, for those who didn't take physics, light is a wave, an electromagnetic wave is a type of radiation, right? So sometimes when we say solar radiation, right, sunlight, so solar radiation is a mixture of different types of radiations and different waves. Okay, so one of the radiation or one type of wave is the visible light. Okay, and in the visible light, right, there are different colors, right? The different colors are due to different wavelengths. So there's this range of wavelength that is considered to be visible light, or we can see. So we call this range of wavelengths visible light. And the different colors, right, corresponds to different wavelengths within this range. Right, so within this range, the lower wavelength or smaller wavelength or shorter wavelength is towards the purple bluish color. The higher wavelength within this range is the reddish color. Beyond the range, right, we cannot see, so they becomes to us different types of radiation, like your infrared, your UV. So in this topic, when we talk about light, right, when we talk about colors, sometimes we use wavelengths, because again, different wavelengths equals to different colors. Right, so in this topic, in this context, right, colors and wavelengths are quite interchangeable. Right, so sometimes I will say colors, sometimes I will say wavelengths. Don't get confused, they are really the same thing. So with that, let's look at chlorophylls. Chlorophylls are found in the chloroplast, right, at the thylakoid membranes. They look green in color because they absorb mostly the red and the blue-violet light, or the region of wavelengths that corresponds to the red and blue-violet colors. And they reflect most of the green light. Not all, most of the green light. So they look green to us. Right, so the leaves are green because of the chlorophyll, unless there are other color pigments that mask the green color of the chlorophyll. Right, so there are two types of chlorophyll, right? Chlorophyll A is known as the primary pigment, right, because they are the ones that will initiate the light-dependent reactions. They're the ones that will take in the light energy and use it to excite electrons, which will then drive the light-dependent reactions, converting the light energy to chemical energy. Again, the process we'll learn in a later lesson and later video. Yeah, but they are the primary pigments because they are the one, chlorophyll A's, they are the one that will convert the light energy into chemical energy through the light-dependent reactions. There is the chlorophyll B, which we call the accessory pigment. They don't initiate the light-dependent reactions. They don't convert light energy to chemical energy. They don't excite electrons. What they do is they will still absorb the light and they will still capture the light energy, but they will pass the light energy to chlorophyll A. So chlorophyll A will receive even more light energy, right, to drive the light-dependent reactions. Again, all this you learn later when we look at the light-dependent reactions as a process. Now we look at the structure of chlorophylls, right? So this is in general how a chlorophyll look like. at the bottom, right, there is the long phytor tail. If you look at the chemical composition, it's only C and H, so the phytor tail is hydrophobic. And recall that your photosynthetic pigments are embedded in the thylakoid membrane, right? So this is how chlorophyll is embedded into the thylakoid membrane with this hydrophobic phyto tail, which will interact with the hydrophobic fatty acid tails of the phospholipid molecules in the thylakoid membrane. The head structure, right, is also called a porphyrin ring or porphyrin head, is somewhat hydrophilic, because there is the presence of oxygen atom, there is the nitrogen atom, there's also an ion, right, magnesium ion in the center, right. The charge is not shown, it's a magnesium ion, right, not a magnesium atom in this picture. Okay, so it is somewhat hydrophilic, so it will be able to interact with the aqueous environment in the stroma, right. So the head is actually found in the stroma. The head, unlike this picture, right, that stands upright, the head will be lying flat, parallel to the surface of the thylakoid membrane. Right, so you can imagine, right, the flat head will be covering, right, the membrane of the thylakoid at the site that is in contact with the stroma. So as we have the head lying flat, right, the whole surface of the thylakoid can be covered, and therefore increasing the surface area that is going to be able to absorb light. So light is absorbed by this flat head, porphyrin head structure. Just as we mentioned, right, especially for the primary pigment, the chlorophyll A, the light energy once absorbed, right, or transferred to it, will be used to excite electrons. Right, so there are going to be electrons associated with the magnesium ion in the center. These electrons will be excited with the light energy that is received by the chlorophyll A molecules. Once excited, the electrons become high energy. Right, so then the electrons can be used to make ATP and reduced NADP through the light-dependent reactions. So the ATP and reduced NADP will carry the chemical energy. Right, so that's why we say that light energy absorbed by the chlorophyll A especially, right, is converted to chemical energy, right, in the form of ATP and reduced NADP through the light-dependent reactions. Again, you'll learn the process later, right? And if you look at the porphyrin head structure, there's an R, right? Don't confuse this with the R group of amino acids. We usually use R for side groups. Okay, so it's just a different side group. Yeah, don't call it R group. Yeah, please. Also, it's a different side groups for different chlorophylls. Chlorophyll A has a CH3. Chlorophyll B has a CHO, right? And even for CH3 and CHO, right, there can be even more slight modification to it as well. So different chlorophyll molecules can have a slightly different side group, and that will affect a little bit, right, slightly, the structure of the porphyrin head, which then affects the wavelengths or colors to which the particular chlorophyll molecule can absorb. Right, so they will all absorb near the blue, violet, and red colors, but there are different shades of red, right, and different shades of blue, violet. So there's a bit of variation, right, in terms of which wavelength, exact wavelength, the one particular chlorophyll molecule can absorb. Right, so you can imagine when we have many different chlorophylls, each with a slight different variation in the wavelengths to which it absorbs, then overall there's a wider range of wavelengths that can be absorbed, which will also increase the amount of light energy that can be captured. So this is how chlorophyll is adapted to its function. Next, we have the carotenoids. There are many types of carotenoids, right? So therefore, different types of different colors, right? Some yellow, some orange, red, or brown, and even other colors as well. But as a whole, most of them, right, will absorb near the blue-violet region of the wavelength of light. They too serve as accessory pigments, so they don't convert the light energy into chemical energy by exciting electrons. They will just pass the light energy to the chlorophyll A, which is the primary pigment, which will then convert it to chemical energy, excite electrons, drive light-dependent reactions. So I'm not showing you the structure of carotenoids, right? So we don't need to look at how the carotenoids are inserted into the thylakoid membranes and all that, because again, there are too many different types of carotenoids, right? So we don't go into details for the structure, okay? So now there's a question, right? If you think back on Christmas, which wasn't too long ago, right? During Christmas, there are always these plants, right? That's used as decoration. The red color, right, which looks like petals, are actually leaves. You can look at the veins, right? It looks just like the veins, right? Pattern is just like the green leaves, like nearby, right? So they are actually leaves, but they are red in color, right? So question here is, right, would these red leaves be able to photosynthesize? So take some time, think about it, and explain, right, your thought. Okay, so if you have your answer, actually they can, right? The red leaves still have their photosynthetic pigments. There's still chlorophyll, chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, carotenoids. But there is so much red colored pigments that mask all these mask the colors, all these chlorophyll and other photosynthetic pigments, right? But they will still be able to absorb light. They will reflect red light because they look red, right? The leaves look red, but the blue violet can be absorbed, right? So light energy can still be captured by the photosynthetic pigments to drive light-dependent reactions and subsequently drive the whole process of photosynthesis, right? So these red leaves are still photosynthetic, okay? And if you're curious, right, the flowers are actually the green knobs in the center of the bunch of red leaves. So those are the flowers actually. Yeah, but most people think the red leaves are petals. So, okay, just for your info. Alright, so that's the first part of this, or rather the first video.